Essentially, the key part to that question is what led me to where I am now. And that's sort of been life experience. The reason that I now work in terms of persons with disabilities is the whole family thing, because our sons happen to be autistic. It's sort of been a matching. This is what we're learning about them. This is how this can be enlarged. Everything that I'd learned in early childhood, because that was my background initially. I wanted to work with small children. I wanted to work with preschoolers, essentially. So that's how I initially ended up in childcare, because in order to be able to work with infants, it had to be childcare. Everything, as I said, that I had learned was out the window. They didn't, especially our first one, he did not in any way fit the things that you're supposed to do with a typical baby. You know, the whole concept of you know, baby cries in the middle of the night, you bring them to mom, baby calms down. Part of the reason that I found that social work fits, even though I spent a lot of years saying, I will never be a social worker, I would never do that. I am a social worker. It's something that for me is really important for my sons, that they be accepted and valued for who they are. That when somebody, like when a worker really treats them with respect, that spills over. So that when they're in different situations, then it's almost like a model for people should be respected. As the boys have grown, it's sort of learning along with them the different stages of development. They're both in day programs. We have what's called family managed, where we have people who come into the home and help them be able to live in community. Well, both our sons went to a program called Ability Hub, where it was specific to individuals with autism, learning daily skills, learning essentially to both meet and surpass potential. There's so much I didn't know when our guys were little, especially our eldest. You could say something to him and I might as well have been talking to the wall over there, because there'd be no response. It was like we weren't even in the room. I got my first hug when he was 4 years old. That 4 years old was the big breakthrough, because he had a worker at childcare who was a geriatric nurse's aide, and she did with him everything you would do with someone with Alzheimer's, and it was exactly what he needed. In the work that I do, it's not officially counseling, but it turns out that a lot of it is using the strategies that we learned through that program. And a lot of times the things that we look at life as being sort of the manure of life are part of the things that make the roses grow. The role that my family plays in terms of helping me realize my fullest potential, and quite frankly, I have to say, I am so totally not at my fullest potential. I don't know if I ever will be. I absolutely love the quote from Walsh in her book, Family Resiliency, and where she talks about resiliency not as bouncing back, because you can't bounce back to a place you've never been. the education piece, the formal piece, that's only one small piece of the puzzle. It's really more about the lifelong learning. If I ever stop learning, then that means that at that point, hey, I need big time support. One of my biggest achievements, I think, is in terms of stepping back, right? Of allowing them to speak for themselves. I think my poetry is, I think a lot of it is good, but that I sort of haven't gone to that. I haven't written anything since my husband passed away. So it's probably time to sort of come out of that shell and go back to there. The word I'd use to summarize what my life's work would be, I think it would have to be exciting. Because, as I said, the small things are so exciting. Just being able to see that something is not exactly the same as it was before. The reason that I'm doing this interview in the first place is my hope that for even one person who may never have had the experience to their knowledge of meeting with someone who has a disability, someone who is challenged in some way, if in some way it helps to build the understanding of respect for people, the understanding that whatever decisions we make, whatever choices we make, it has an effect for someone else. And that the more understanding we have of the people or the situations that we can affect in the long run, the better the outcome for the people most involved. What I would really like to pass along is, I guess, the whole concept, both of learning and that life is about the living. It's not about how much we have. It's not about how educated we are. It's not about what our IQ might be or anything like that. It's about equity. It's about that everyone has whatever it is that is going to make their life worth the living. What my sister, and I think she was such a wise woman, her last words before she went into her last coma were, "There is always hope." And no matter how rough things seem, no matter how it seems like, hey, everything is falling apart, somewhere in the middle of it, there is hope.